So I'm racist, and this video is about me being racist. In 2006, I stayed in South London for a few weeks with a friend in between rental periods on two houses. And one day I came home from work early and walked past the local secondary school in Streatham just as the kids were coming out. And I was surprised to see that a lot of the black kids were being picked up by their dads. And I remember thinking, oh, wow, I didn't realise that. Black dads do stick around. Now, obviously, I'm not proud of this. And at the time, I think if somebody had come up to me at a party or something and said, black dads don't stick around, I would have argued with them and said, of course they do. Because intellectually, in my higher brain, I know, and I did know, that black dads stick around. But somehow, subconsciously, I had acquired the idea that they didn't. You see, one of the problems with racism is that our brains are actually designed for prejudice, in the sense that they are designed to pick up cues from the world around us and take shortcuts to understanding how the world works. And that would be fine if we didn't live in a racist society. But in a racist society, we are constantly bombarded with messages about races and what the essential nature of those races are. Messages that just aren't true, that aren't accurate. And I think in some ways the people who are overtly racist, who admit to being racist, who are white supremacists, are easier to contend with because we know that they're there and they are conscious of their bias and we can debate it with them and argue it with them. But it's the people like me who claim not to be racist, who claim that we are somehow immune from this disease in our society, that can be the really dangerous ones. Because if we don't admit to ourselves that we carry this prejudice, how on earth can we ever deal with it? Now, I know that the argument is often given that we can't have people second-guessing themselves and constantly on guard about, oh, am I being racist, am I not? But the fact is, the burden of racism has to be borne by somebody. If I don't make a conscious effort to not be racist, then it will be people of colour around me who have to take that burden on my behalf. And that just can't be right. What that moment in Streatham taught me is that I have no room for complacency. Saying that I'm anti-racist, being intellectually opposed to racism, is no guarantee of not being racist. And the job of combating racism belongs to all of us, and it is an ongoing job.
So in that video, he spoke about how him as a white man subconsciously bought into certain narratives about black people that aren't true, and he subconsciously believes or believed these narratives even though the evidence before him said different. Now, he said what he said and we all heard what he said, but permit me to take my commentary to a different angle. Now, I want to be talking about us as African people, black people, and how we too buy into certain narratives, subconsciously buy into and believe certain narratives that aren't true, even though the evidence before us say different. Like, say, for example, we believe that white people are generally good people, angelic beings, even though the history and, the things that they continue to do on a daily basis say otherwise. That is because we are in a society that, continue to perpetuate these narratives. So even though we see differently, like say, for example, in the US of A, there is this constant thing of them folks going to, mass pew schools, right? Everybody can say this, not only black people or African people, the Indians, the Chinese, the Native Americans, everybody can say this. But somehow, for some weird reason, even though the evidence says, these people are like this historically and presently, look at what they are doing. But there is this belief that they are something else because of how the society wants people generally to see them folks, right? Even black people can and have bought into certain narratives about themselves or their people that are not necessarily 100% true. They subconsciously and subconsciously buy into these narratives, and they subconsciously believe them because they exist in an environment where these narratives are they're being constantly bombarded with these narratives. And over time, these narratives stick to their subconscious, and they buy into these things and they believe these things. And somehow, unfortunately, the evidence before them stop to become facts, and they don't even pay this evidence much attention because of how much they have been bombarded with these lies, and the lies become facts. We all operate within the same system of white supremacy, right? But what this system do for white people is that it empowers them. For a white person, these false narratives help them be even more racist, give them reason, I would even say, to feel like, oh, their racism is valid because all of these negative things about these people. What is wrong with these people, right? We must be more superior, of course, to these people, because how do they have all of these negatives? Hell, and look at us, we have only positives, right? This false narrative also helped them to be even more proud, to be white and of the white group that they find themselves in. Narrative of lies further reinforce their position in racism, and further reinforce why they should be proud and love themselves even more, and love their community even more, and love their people even more, and love their systems even more, because these false narratives encourage everything white is good, basically. The contrary, though, the opposite is the case for Black people and people of color who find themselves in such environments, which in a way we all kind of do regardless of our location. But more in some locations it's a lot more intense than others, right? I hope you guys understand what I mean. But the opposite is the case for Black people and people of color when they buy into these narratives of lies, when they subconsciously buy into them and believe them. It encourages self-hate, because now this, that, and the third, according to the environments that they grew up in, is wrong with their people. Their people are this, that, and the third negative. Their people are this, that, and the third evil. Their people are all out here on the streets just doing all of these bad things. Even though this person can see the evidence in front of them saying the contrary. But because, like I said earlier, the negatives are always more reinforced, and they're always bombarded with them. They believe into these things, and they start to internalize these things, and that leads to self-hatred. That's where we get the coons from. Basically, that's where we get the coons from, right? So they internalize all of this negativity. You start to feel bad about yourself and the group that you are from. You start to hate the group that you are from. This then leads to self-hatred. Because once you don't take a break, take a step back and actually say, wait a minute, what am I hearing? Like, if you are not lucky enough, I would say, because not many of us are lucky enough to be able to, make these distinctions. English cannot kill me. Lucky enough to make these distinctions in our brains and actually take a step back and reevaluate all of the things that we are hearing, and do the decolonizing work and actually work on ourselves and step out of this bubble of coonery that they basically want us all to be in, this bubble of self-hatred that they basically want us all to be in. Because why are they spreading all of these lies when they know damn well that it isn't true? So if people are not lucky, people in our community, are not lucky enough to take a step back and do this work, then we end up with people who are going to be, just apologists for history of lies, apologists for the narratives, present day narratives of lies as well. And they will believe all of this with their full chest, with their whole heart, and they will take it as facts, even though the evidence says differently. The effects, it is different. The result is different. How we act when and if we buy into these narratives of lies is very different from how they act when and if they buy into these narratives of lies. We buy into the same narratives, but the results are different because these narratives empower them, while these narratives put us in a position of, we start to feel a certain kind of way. It doesn't empower us. It puts us in a very, below par position, and how it reflects in our behavior and how we carry ourselves as Black people is it's not empowering. We start to carry ourselves in a very, you know, I'm below the standard kind of light. We get people like this.
That's why I like white people. They do it right.
You think so?
Yeah, tell us.
Yeah,
do you think that whites do it right?
You know, there's a report that says that white people are becoming the minority in America. And I tremble at that idea, because once whites are gone, America will be nothing but hell.
Really?
Because white people are more innovative and creative, and, you know, they just want a first-class life. So they get educated.
Do you think that's an innate quality of whites?
Yes.
You do?
I do.
Okay.
Because look what happens when the colored people take over. It turned into pure hell. You can't name one city, one state, one that's controlled by the blacks, and you want to go live there.
So you see how he was speaking in that video. He too have bought into this narrative. He too doesn't see himself as good enough to be able to, you know, create anything good in a country. He trusts, you know, them folks because of how they've been painted over the years historically as the only good people that could ever do anything good and great, even though, you know, other people have been doing great things and are still doing great things, by the way, but it doesn't matter. All that matters is a narrative that is the status quo. Even though these folks only got to be able to create such thriving communities and countries because they went around stealing other people's ish and using other people's ish to build themselves. As we speak right now, they are constantly causing instability in other people's countries so theirs can be stable and thriving. All of that doesn't matter. There's no way this man is a grown ASS man. He knows this, definitely. But the truth that is in front of him doesn't matter because he has subconsciously, strongly bought into and believed the lies. And like I said, these lies don't empower Black and brown people when they buy into them. They empower them palm-colored folks when they do, but the reverse is the case for a Black or brown person when they buy into these lies. I don't know. I hope I was using the right words here to try and express my thoughts, but I hope you guys can understand what I mean. I went on and on here for a minute, but I just wanted to bring this video. Do let me know down below in the comment section what your thoughts are, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.